Hello, and welcome to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a podcast with me, Brittany Duncan, a millennial homemaker. Join me each week as I share all the things I've learned that make keeping your home, garden, and life running smoothly, all while working. If you are enjoying the podcast, please be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcasting app so you get the episodes downloaded straight to you every Monday. Now, on to today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a millennial homemaker. This is your host, Brittany Duncan, and wherever you're listening from, I hope you are past your last frost date. Our last frost date here in Boise, Idaho was May 10th, and finally the jungle that was in our home from all of my seedlings has been moved outside and into the garden, which is a beautiful, wonderful thing. The anticipation that comes with waiting for the last frost date is pretty brutal for the gardener. I don't know if it's just me, but I find it tough. I found as we've built up our gardens with perennial plants, though, that this is the trick to lessening that pre-last frost date depression and having beautiful gardens from the start of spring to, through fall. When I started gardening, I was purely a vegetable gardener. If I couldn't eat it, I didn't grow it. Older, wiser me realizes how stupid this philosophy is. We garden for a food source, yes, but really we garden for the joy and the beauty we cultivate in the process. And flowers are a huge part of this, at least they are for me. My vegetable gardens last year did include some sweet alyssum, marigolds, and zinnias for added color and pest control. But recently I've discovered a new love for perennials. For those of you new to gardening, there are two classifications of plants. Well, there's probably way more than that, but what I'm talking about today, there's annuals and perennials. Annuals last for one season. And then there's perennials, which if cared for properly will come back year after year. They're a gift to the garden that keeps on giving. When you look at well-established gardens and landscapes, something I've noticed is that perennials play a really big role. You might supplement with some annuals for color or texture variety, but most established gardens are made up of perennials. I've dove into this style of gardening full force for the last 2 seasons or so and already see such a difference. So let's talk about some of my favorite kind of perennials. I'm going to start with the beginning of the season, which for me is the first sign of spring. It's bulbs. I know we're just entering spring and summer weather, but if I were you, I would place an order now for bulbs that you can place in the fall, plant in the fall, so that your gardens flourish next spring. I'll be placing an order myself to expand on the bulbs that we already have, which are some tulip and ranunculus and some irises that I have. Daffodils are going to be on my list. We currently don't have them, but they're the first to pop and truly a symbol of spring. As those fade out, the tulips bloom and take center stage. When we first moved in, I added some tulip bulbs to our front beds, and every year it brings me so much joy to see their beauty. As the tulips fade, the alliums and irises bloom. Alliums are in the garlic onion family, but allium bulbs for gardening are really beautiful. They have a very long, simple green stem and then a snowball-shaped bloom that is usually a vibrant purple, although you can get them in a variety of colors. Our neighbor gave me some of her allium bulbs, but I'm going to be purchasing some more since they're so stunning. Irises are next in their bloom, and they come in a variety of beautiful colors. All of these bulbs can be planted together, and they're going to give your garden life through succession blooming into May and June. So when you look at your bulbs and the bloom times, stagger them. And this just kind of happens naturally, where you can plant all these things, and from the daffodils that first pop all the way through, if you have lilies, they're going to go, your daffodils, and then your tulips, and then your alliums, and then your irises, and then your lilies, and so on and so forth. And so you can really, with bulbs that will come up every single year, you can have blooms all throughout the season. I have Cara lilies and dahlias that I dig up each fall and then replant in the spring, the bulbs. And the reason I do this is that they are not tolerant to harsh winter temperatures in our garden zone. And so I do dig them up to be safe, and then I replant them. Along the same vein, I'm going to be adding gladiolas, which operate on kind of the same schedule, where I will need to take them out so they don't freeze throughout the winter. All of these bulbs, they're like a buy once and enjoy for seasons to come situation. And that's the beauty of perennials. They are more expensive than annuals most of the time, but they're a one-time investment. Moving away from bulbs to other perennials I love are black-eyed Susans and lavender, and these were actually the first non-bulb perennials I planted when we bought our home, as an ode to my grandmothers, really. My grandma Joan loved black-eyed Susans and has thousands of them at our family cottage, and my granny loves lavender. Both of these plants are also loved by pollinators, which is really important to me. Our garden had a hydrangea bush, although I will say it hasn't really bloomed much. So I'm hoping this year is going to be its year to come out and really shine, but we'll see. This early spring, late winter, someone on Facebook Marketplace was giving away free established rose bushes if you came and dug them up. So I went with my shovel and I dug up 8 of them, and I have them now scattered throughout our property. I'm hoping that they take and bloom nicely, but we'll see how that goes. Facebook Marketplace is a really great place to look for affordable or free perennials. Many plants need to be divided. For example, irises, they kind of self-divide, and you can end up with too many in one space where you need to take some out so they can flourish. And a lot of people will either give these away for free or trade or sell their extras. So I am constantly patrolling on Facebook Marketplace to look for perennials to add that I don't have that are at either an affordable rate or even better, free. I added a bleeding heart, which reminds me of my mom. My biological mom is an excellent gardener. And in our front bed, she had this huge, still has, it's gorgeous, bleeding heart plant that I've always loved. So last year at the end of the season plant sale, I grabbed a bleeding heart and a peony, and I put them in the ground. Now, here's what I'll say about the end of the season plant sale. First, do it. They will not be the biggest, healthiest plant starts. And you'll probably think they've died in your garden. Once you put them in there and you let them sit for a little bit, you'll probably think oh, that died. But let them be. And next spring, they'll come back with a vengeance. That's what happened to me this spring. I could not believe that these plants came back so happy and healthy. And I'm so glad I didn't dig them up and chuck them, because I was sure that they were dead and not going to make it. Perennial planting is a long-term play. I find it best to think of it as you're planting for next year's garden. So if you're looking for instant satisfaction, that's where your annuals come in. But with perennials, you build and build, and in the end, you end up with this layered, dynamic garden that is really gorgeous. Some others I bought at the end of the end of the year plant sale were some pollinator-friendly plants. So these included salvia, poppies, echinacea or coneflower, feverfew, and Russian sage. And yeah, just some fun things. I see them blooming all around the neighborhoods, and that's something you can do too, is take note of your neighbor's gardens and what is growing really well or beautiful that you like in their gardens, and then add it to your wish list and look at the plant sales for those things specifically. I highly encourage you to consider perennials for your garden. I just added perennials to all of my hanging baskets. So we'll see how this works. I wanted something that was drought tolerant, that fingers crossed will come back year after year, so I don't have to spend a ton of time or money replanting our 7 hanging baskets annually. For these, I did a mix of salvia, creeping jenny, prairie wine cups, and Texas sage. All of these pollinators love, especially hummingbirds. And so where they hang is over our vegetable garden beds. And we have a hummingbird feeder there too. And it's where I usually do see hummingbirds in our yard. So I'm hoping that that's going to attract even more of them. But also just really hoping that that's something that provides like beauty, low maintenance beauty every single year. So we'll see. Take it slow, build your collection over the seasons. When someone offers you a free plant, take it. Ask your garden friends if they have any spares or if they'd like to do a plant swap. And always keep an eye on Facebook Marketplace for deals. End of the season plant sales are not to be missed. And remember that your investments are one time and you're building a garden that's going to provide for years and years to come. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untraditionally Traditional. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with those special people who would love it too, and write a review. For more tips and photos of my home and garden, follow Untraditionally Traditional Pod on Instagram. Until next week, let's continue to make our homes places of joy and service to ourselves and those we share them with.